Peanut Jr.'s mind was swimming, and it wasn't just because of the chicken soup he had cultivated in all night. The day was playing out exactly as it had yesterday. There might not be many brain cells in a bonefish's head, but he could tell this wasn't right. Daddy He Xuan lingered in the doorway of Puki Shrine, eavesdropping on exactly the same conversation he had yesterday, spoken by exactly the same people. Most concerningly of all, Daddy He Xuan seemed remarkably unbothered by the strangeness of the situation. He reacted in exactly the same way he had the day before, from each minute change in posture to the raging appetite he displayed after the eavesdropping was over. The little bonefish forgot to even move his fins as Master jumped into the exact same empty rice barrel he had yesterday. This isn't right. This can't be right. As much as he was aware of this fact, Peanut Jr. also knew that he had no idea what to do about it. There was nothing for it. He needed to wake Daddy He Xuan and alert him to what was going on. Surely he would know what to do. With a quick flick of bone, Peanut Jr. was out of He Xuan's pocket and flopping freely within the rice barrel. Next, he got to work getting Master's attention. He patted his bony fins against his face, then did a somersault to thwack him with his tail. Nothing. Peanut Jr. tried prying Daddy He Xuan's eyelids open. He tried tickling his nose with the fine bones at the tip of his tail. Still nothing. Junior was beginning to feel desperate. What could he do? The sleep Daddy He Xuan had sunk into was akin to a season-long hibernation. In fact, since He Xuan had no respiration or heartbeat, it was more like flat-out death. What could a little bonefish possibly do to wake him up? Hopelessness circled in his bony little fishy chest cavity as he hopped out of the rice barrel and went outside. He stared blankly into the night until finally he was struck with an idea. A cloaked figure leading an ox cart was slowly making their way down the road to Puki Shrine. Images of the argument from last night flashed through Peanut Jr.'s mind. It's perfect. He eagerly circled the yard as a plan solidified in his mind. The figure was still a good distance off, which gave him some time to find what he needed. His gaze landed on a pair of brooms next to a pile of spent firecrackers. Aha! Heaven's Eye was only just noticing the cart driver now, and in a flash, Peanut Jr. sprang into action. With the grace of a bonefish ballerina, he slammed his body into one end of a broom, catapulting it directly into Heaven's Eye's feet. "Hey you," Heaven's Eye called out, just as the broom handle slopped against his feet. The impact made him lose his balance, flapping his arms wildly like a goose to avoid a full crash landing in the grass. Just as Peanut Jr. had hoped, the distraction was enough to allow the cart ghost to enter Puki Shrine with a fresh barrel of rice. "You there, stop where you are." Heaven's Eye quickly regained his balance, and his pride, enough to run after the cart ghost. Peanut Jr. was right on the cultivator's heels as he burst into Puki Shrine's kitchen. He wouldn't have had it any other way. The look of Heaven's Eye's face was absolutely priceless as he took in the sight of the chicken and boar spirits preparing food like what he had just eaten. You... Heaven's Xuan choked out. He was so mad he could barely speak for a moment. Then he burst into condemnation. "I knew it. I told that Shailian Gonsi the evil key was inside him. What is he trying to do? Does he intend to poison us all?" The boar spirit's tusks snapped to attention as he glared back at the cultivator. "What you mean poison everyone? This here is quality meat. Not gonna find more choice cuts of meat within 1,000 li of here." The chicken spirit poked his head out of the broth and was equally insulted. "Right! This ancestor has the finest broth you will ever find." He tilted back his head to let out a loud crow as if in demonstration. Heaven's Eye took a step back at this, his back slamming soundly into the rice barrel behind him. Peanut Jr.'s eye sockets veritably glinted with light. The lid of the barrel slowly lifted upward. A messy head of hair with a mysterious clump of seaweed slowly came into view. When He Xuan slept, he slept hard. Having been awoken from this unnatural slumber, his face was the picture of death. The dark circles under his eyes were tinged with purple, and his usually golden irises had turned a vicious shade of red. Unfortunately, Heaven's Eye chose that exact moment to turn around, his face mere inches from He Xuan. The cultivator's mouth flopped as if he were a carp on the planks of a fisherman's boat. A slight gurgling sound came from his mouth. Immediately after, his eyes rolled back into his head and he fell to the floor, unconscious. Calm down. No fighting in Puki Shrine while His Highness is away," a voice came from the next room. He Xuan had just enough time to turn his back to the door and use an image-changing spell on himself before the door burst open. In rushed that one beggar from before with the bad arm and leg. He didn't even wait to catch his breath before launching into a series of questions. What was all that shouting about? Let's not lose our tempers. His Highness couldn't bear it if his new shrine were destroyed on the day of its dedication. His voice cut off as his eyes landed on Heaven's Eye's crumpled body on the floor. He Xuan slowly turned around. He had changed his appearance to that of a young master, with a handsome if sullen face. His eyes flicked to the cultivator on the floor before turning away dismissively. Couldn't handle the soup. Fool didn't realize what he was in for. Oh, the beggar leaned forward for a better look. Is he going to be all right? He Xuan responded by casually tossing the body over his shoulder. Don't worry, I'll take care of him. Ah, good, good. Thank you, Ganzi. The beggar looked at He Xuan's face and flushed for some reason. Say, Ganzi, I don't know why, but even though I just met you, I already like you for some reason. Maybe you remind me of someone. Why don't you come out and join us outside? Oh, come, come, come. He grabbed He Xuan's hand and tugged on it playfully. A barely perceptible mist crept into the corners of He Xuan's eyes. He gave a single nod, sending the satisfied beggar to go on ahead. As soon as the beggar was through the doorway, He Xuan tossed Heaven's Eye into the empty rice barrel without so much as a backward glance. Peanut Jr. happily flapped after Daddy He Xuan. The plan had worked. Now that Daddy Xuan was awake, he could figure out what was going on with the timeline. However, Junior's plan soon ran into an unforeseen hurdle. For some reason, Daddy He Xuan was entirely focused on the beggar from earlier. He sat next to him in the yard and barely moved his gaze from him for a single second. If he didn't know better, Junior would have thought the beggar was the one responsible for the time loop. Junior watched glumly as the beggar, who he learned was named Old Fang, practically jumped to his feet in excitement. Oh, I know. Let's play a game. It is the perfect way for people to get to know each other. I heard about a new one recently. It is called Spin the Flosk. Now that we have a group together, let's give it a go. The other people at the table all seemed strangely unenthusiastic, with the exception of a single female cultivator, who kept blushing and glancing at one of her sectmates. That sounds like fun, she squeaked out.
That settles it then. Let's play. Who has a flask we can use? Ol Feng verbally prodded the others at the table until someone produced a somewhat dented drinking flask. Nodding with approval, he asked, Okay, now we just spin the flask on the table. Who wants to go first? The group was silent for several long moments before Ol Feng finally volunteered himself. All right then, I will go first so everyone can see how the game is played. He leaned forward and gave the flask an elegant flick with his fingers. The others at the table watched the flask with complicated expressions on their faces. As the flask gradually slowed, He Xuan leaned forward with an unreadable look on his face. It was as if he were praying and cursing all at the same time. The people at the table held their collective breath as the flask slowed to a stop. It was pointing directly at He Xuan. Everyone sucked in their breath and looked at Ol Feng expectantly. Feng's eyes traced the direction of the flask to He Xuan and burst into nervous laughter, scratching the back of his neck. Oh, look at that. It seems I've gotten our new friend. Everyone continued to stare at Ol Feng, making him squirm. What? You don't actually know how this game is played, do you? Someone finally asked. What makes you say that? Ol Feng continued to laugh nervously, confirming he had no idea what he was doing. It's okay, He Xuan intoned, his eyes locked onto Ol Feng. I know how it's played. Taking Feng by the hand, he led him to Puki Shrine's altar room.